Hello music fans, welcome to the Death by Unicorn channel. I'm doing another oddly specific subgenre top 10 albums of 2023, and today I'm focusing on rock, but some very specific subcategories of rock, because I'm going to do a separate video for progressive rock, which is my favorite type of rock. I want this one to cover alternative rock, indie rock, art rock, psychedelic rock, and pop rock albums. So these are my top 10 favorite alternative, indie, art, psych, and pop rock albums of 2023, starting with my number 10, which is Queens of the Stone Age and their album In Times New Roman. This is alternative rock with hard rock, stoner rock, and desert rock influences. It's the 8th album by this American band, and they have such a great and unique signature sound that is immediately recognizable and iconic. My favorite albums by them are Songs for the Deaf and Like Clockwork. This is almost on that level, so it might be my third favorite album of theirs, but I'll need some more listens to say for sure. Check out the song Carnivore for a preview of what this album sounds like. Number 9 is Foo Fighters with their album But Here We Are. This is another alternative rock one with some hard rock, pop, and punk influences. This is the 11th album by this legendary American band featuring Dave Grohl as the frontman, formerly from Nirvana. My favorite track on here is Teacher, which is a longer track than what they typically do. My number 8 is Haunt the Woods and their album Ubiquity. Another alternative rock one here, but there is a little bit of progressive stuff, some folk and some pop influences on here. It's the second album by this band from the UK. The vocals in Haunt the Woods sound a bit like Tom York from Radiohead. I was pleasantly surprised by how good this is, so I plan to check out their other album as well, because I think this could be a band that I get into. Number 7 is Dispirited Spirits and their album The Redshift Blues. This is more art rock, but kind of has some emo, alternative, pop, indie, jazz, math rock, and post-rock all sprinkled in. It's the second album by this Portuguese artist named Indigo Dias. The guitars have a math rock feel to them, and the vocals have that emo feel to them. The composition sometimes reminds me of Radiohead, for fans of Radiohead, Moneen, and TTNG, because it sounds like a mixture of those three bands to me. My favorite tracks are Bring Down the Sky, where I love the time signature changes in that song and how they sound so natural and not jarring, and Ships Sailing Space. Number 6, this one's hard to categorize in terms of genre, so I put it on this list. It's Childish Japes and Joanna Teeters, and their album Matters of Life and Death Part 1. I'd say this is kind of alternative rock, but it's really a lot of different genres blended together, like jazz, soul, indie, hip-hop, and art rock all put into a blender. It's the 4th album by this American band Childish Japes, and the 2nd album by Joanna Teeters. It's a collaborative album between the two. And it's an interesting collaboration. It's very jazzy and soulful, but it blurs the lines between all those genres I mentioned. I love the jazzy guitar soloing on here, as well as the soulful female vocals. Check out the song Another Dose if you want a preview of this album. Number 5 is the only live album that I feature on my list, because I don't usually talk about live albums, but for this one I'll make an exception. Black Country New Road and their album Live at Bush Hall. This is art rock with post-rock, experimental, punk, indie, progressive, and pop influences. I don't usually include live albums, but this one features all new and original songs that aren't on either of their 2 studio albums, so for that reason I gave it an exception. They recorded this on tour after their previous vocalist left, and they brought in a new vocalist to do the touring with them, and they wrote new material that would work well with the vocalist. Excellent album, suggest you give it a listen. Number 4 is the Mommy Heads and their album Coney Island Kid. This is indie rock with baroque pop, alternative, progressive, and art rock influences. It's an album, they're an American band. I think it might be like their 20th album from looking at Wikipedia, but I think maybe some of those are remixes, remasters, that kind of thing, so maybe it's more like their 16th. I think fans of newer Thrice music will like this. After Thrice stopped screaming and went more alternative indie folk pop rock, but still retained a lot of that progressive songwriting and artistic flair. A song like Solemn by the Sea really sounds like it could be a Thrice song to me, so I like that because I'm a big Thrice fan. Number 3, I'm going to put Trevor Rabin on here with his album Rio. This is a rock album. It's got some pop. Yeah, it's got some progressive elements, but I don't think it's enough to call it a progressive rock album. It's also got some country influences. I guess it's progressive in the sense that it blends all those genres, but it doesn't really fit as like a capital P progressive rock album to me, so I put it on this more non-progressive rock list. It's the 6th studio album by this South African musician. He's well known for his time as the guitarist of Yes in the 80s and early 90s when he replaced Steve Howe. My favorite track on here is the second track, Push, but a lot of the tracks on here are great. There's lots of variety, straightforward pop stuff, prog stuff, country, jazz. The guitar playing is really great. Some parts even sound like virtuoso Steve Vai playing to me, but it's all Trevor Rabin, so this guy can really play the guitar. Check it out if you like Trevor Rabin era Yes, or if you just want to hear music by a great composer and a guitar player who has a lot of different styles and tricks up his sleeve. His vocals and harmonies on here are great as well. Yeah, definitely like this. Check it out. And number 2 is Gong and their album Unending Ascending. This is more psychedelic space rock. It's got some jazz, also has some progressive influences. I've seen some people classify it as Canterbury scene prog. I'm not too sure about that. It sounds more like psychedelic space rock to me. It's hard to count how many albums this multinational band that formed in Paris in 1967 has. I think it's technically their 16th released under the name Gong, but they had at least 8 called under the name Pierre Moreland's Gong. 4 is Gongzilla, 1 is Gong Espresso, 1 is New York Gong, a bunch is Mother Gong, all seemingly with a different set of members going off and forming different branches of this band. I had heard some of their songs before and enjoyed the spacey ambient vibes, but this is the first full album I've listened to by them. I really enjoyed it. If there's any Gong experts out there, let me know in the comments which albums to start with next as I explore their big discography. And if there are any albums that are totally bad and skippable, let me know as well. This album starts off reminding me of Syd Barrett era Pink Floyd right away with the opening track, Tiny Galaxies. Then the second track, My Guitar is a Spaceship, is just great. But my favorite song on here is Choose Your Goddess. Lots of cool odd time signature stuff, time signature changes, polyrhythms, syncopations on the album. Lots of good atmosphere and spaciness. I highly recommend checking it out. And then my number 1 rock album of 2023 is Dave Matthews Band and Walk Around the Moon. This is another alternative rock one with jazz, folk, and indie influences. The 10th album by this American band. I like everything they've done, but particularly I like their last 4 albums. I think they're on a bit of a hot streak. I might be a bit weird in my Dave Matthews tastes, and I prefer the new stuff more, but I think most people who like him like the old stuff. It probably relates to when I got into him, which is 2009 with their 4th most recent album when that came out. That's my favorite album of theirs. This new album is great too. My favorite tracks are Madman's Eyes, which is a solid track with a bit of a Middle Eastern vibe, and The Only Thing, as well as After Everything. And that's it for my 10 favorite rock albums in the alternative, indie, art rock, and psychedelic and pop rock scenes from 2023. Let me know what some of your favorites are down below and what do you think of the picks on my list, and stay tuned. Next video will probably be my top 10 black metal albums of 2023. Then I'm probably doing top 10 progressive death metal, and then I'll probably do top 10 technical and melodic death metal. And so stay tuned for those. Hit that subscribe button if you want to stay in the loop on that, or just support that channel by giving me the ego boost that more people want to watch these videos. And peace out.